Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and it is in fact the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority. In case on your screen it says Planning Commission meeting. And I will ask the roll call to be given.
Commissioner Rubenstein?
Here.
Commissioner Gotell? Here. Commissioner Gepner?
Here.
Commissioner Quam?
Here.
Chair Sandal?
Here. Next item is approval of minutes. We have the special City Council HRA Planning Commission work session of April 10th, 2012, the regular HRA meeting of April 16th, 2012, the special HRA City Council meeting of April 16th, 2012, and the special HRA City Council Planning Commission work session April 16th, 2012. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think they should add us as present, you and me, on April 16th.
Did they take that off again?
I didn't even notice. Thank you for catching it. All right. With that correction, any other additions or corrections? I assume that's a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I will call the question. All in favor of approval of the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next item is approval of the HRA agenda.
I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then consent calendar. Mr. Devich.
Thank you, Chair Sandal, members of the HRA. For those in the audience and those at home, the consent calendar usually contains several separate items which are acted upon by the HRA in one motion. Tonight, there's only one item on the consent calendar. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the item is also approved and its recommended action is approved. No further HRA action on that item would be necessary. And again, tonight we only have one item on the consent agenda, and that is consideration of approval of resolution authorizing the HRA to affirm the monetary limits on statutory municipal tort liability. And that concludes the consent calendar.
All right. Motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a public hearing and consideration. And Mr. Stark, would you like to, Mr. Devich?
Yeah, thank you. Chair Sandal, members of the HRA. What we have now are four Richfield rediscovered properties that are going to come before the Housing Redevelopment Authority. Each is a public hearing, and each one is it's an individual agreement with the particular individual company or individual that is doing the property. So I'm going to ask Karen Barton to make the first presentation.
Thank you, Chair Sandal and Commissioners. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority had purchased 7338 Queen Avenue and demolished the house that was existing on that lot in 2009. Brandel Anderson Homes, the builder, has submitted an application to purchase the lot and construct a new home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. The new two-story home that's being proposed will have 1,672 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and an attached 2-stall car garage. The home will have an estimated end value between $235,000 and $240,000. The Richfield Rediscovered program allows for a builder to receive an additional $5,000 credit in the event that the house is certified through LEED, Minnesota Green Star, or Minnesota Green Communities. Brandel Anderson is planning to construct the home at 7338 Queen Avenue to Minnesota Green Path certification standards. This certification program is a new program provided by the Builders Association with standards similar to those of the 3 certification programs mentioned in the Richfield Rediscovered guidelines. The Green Path certification focuses on the energy efficiency of a home, indoor air quality, water conservation, and resource management. Once the certification is obtained, the $5,000 credit would be issued to Brandel Anderson. Construction is expected to begin near the 1st of June and would be completed by the end of August, barring any unforeseen events. And, these, just as a note, these lots are subsidized by the HRA. They're sold at fair market value, but they are acquired generally at higher than what the lot price is. And This property was acquired for $90,000, and the appraised value of the vacant lot is $56,500 and would be the sale price. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you would have.
Okay. Is there any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just an administrative item. 4.4 of the contract for development doesn't contain Minnesota Green Path as one of the programs. Just, you may want to put that in the contract.
Thank you. We'll amend the contract to include that. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm just real excited because I looked at all these houses, and they really look really nice. And the other thing is they look like they're scaled to fit in Richfield as move-up housing. So, I mean, I know that other communities are concerned about McMansions. I don't see that happening here. This is really wonderful. It's really exciting to see this.
Okay. Is there a motion?
It's a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Public hearing. Does anyone want to speak on this matter? You can come up to the mic if you'd like to speak.
My name is Jeff Nichols. I live at 7638 Harriet Avenue. Is there a representation of this proposed home that can be looked at online?
We can show you now overhead if Mr. Stark would care to
That's all I had.
put some visuals up.
There's several different scapes of it, and then a plot as well.
I'll buy it.
Very nice.
Okay. All right. Anyone else who wishes to speak at the public hearing?
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is closed. Now I will entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the application and accept the recommended actions from staff.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the resolution authorizing the sale of the lot at 7338 Queen Avenue to Brandel Anderson Homes, and authorizing staff to execute the contract for private development with Brandel Anderson Homes for the development of a single-family home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. That was
is
your
correct.
motion?
That is.
Okay, good.
Second.
And it's been seconded. Any discussion from the HRA?
I'd just like to add my compliments to the staff for bringing us 4 of these. This is practically 1/4 of all the lots that we have with the 4 of them. Anyone who wants to build a new home in Richfield better contact us soon, because we've got some more, and it looks like building is beginning, and we're going to have some nice new bigger homes, and that's what our goal is.
Some nice young families, too.
Yes.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5.
Thank you, Chair Sandall, members of the HRA. This is the second of the 4. This is for 6616 2nd Avenue, and again involves the Brandel Anderson construction. And I'll turn it over to Karen Barton.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The HRA purchased 6616 2nd Avenue and demolished the house on that property in 2010. Brandel Anderson Homes has submitted an application to purchase this lot as well and construct a new home under our Richfield Rediscovered program. Brandel Anderson has entered into a purchase agreement with an end buyer who will reside in the home upon completion. The proposed new house on this lot does meet the new house requirements and actually exceeds them under the Richfield Rediscovered program requirements. The new 2-story home will have 1,870 square feet. Will have 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and an attached 2-stall garage as well. The home will have an estimated end value between $225,000 and $245,000. Randall Anderson is again seeking the $5,000 credit for the Green Pass certification on this property. And construction is expected to begin near the 1st of June and also be completed by the end of August. If construction is in fact completed by the end of August, Randall Anderson anticipates entering this home into the fall parade of homes as well. The HRA purchased this property, as I mentioned, in 2010 for $97,834, and the vacant lot is selling for $43,500. If you have any questions, I'll...
Maybe you can explain for people in the audience why it is we're buying high and selling low on lots so that they understand what the benefit is.
Be happy to. The reason that we do this is we are purchasing substandard homes. Typically, they are usually very small, well under 1,000 square feet. Oftentimes, they're 500 to 700 square feet, smaller than a lot of people's garages. And they're just not functional for families today. They don't have the amenities. They're not in good enough shape to add on to. So the HRA purchases these homes, demolishes them, and then provides the lot to prospective property owners, homeowners that would like to build a new and larger home with the amenities that families are looking for today.
Okay, thank you. And in the long run, the HRA and City Council is looking to recover in taxes over time, plus improvement in the community itself to benefit all of the neighbors. So instead of having a little garage lot house across the street, you have a brand new house. And we've discovered that it encourages neighbors to improve their houses.
Absolutely.
So.
And Madam Chair, if I may, this is a program that Richfield initiated some years ago, and it was one of those things that we as Richfield citizens can be proud of, because it does make a difference. If there's a new house on the block, everybody else is going to put some money into their own home, and on that basis, we haven't had deterioration of our neighborhoods like other communities have had.
Madam Chair, I have a question. It's terrific to see these lots finally moving, and my question is, did these sales come through as a result of our marketing, or do we have previous experience with any of these builders that they know that they can come to us?
It's both. Staff has really ramped up the marketing. They put out some marketing materials, have reached out to realtors that work in Richfield, and have put up, signs in all of the lots. Additionally, all the information is available on our website, marketing the lots as well. And builders who have worked in Richfield are aware of the program and will oftentimes check our website and seek out these lots when they have property owners looking to build a new home.
Have we worked with these builders previously?
I don't know if Randall Anderson has done any of the Richfield Rediscovered.
The name doesn't sound
previously, but there are other builders that we have worked with before.
Okay. Glad to have a new one in the community.
Okay, this is a public, Mr. Devich.
Chair Sandal, I would just add one thing for those people who are listening in the audience. The funds that we use to buy the properties and demolish them are not monies that are coming off of ad valorem property taxes. In other words, it's not money that's coming from the average taxpayer in the community. It's money that's coming back to us through various TIF projects that we've had in the past where the money's been designated for these kind of redevelopment efforts. And so it's really a win-win situation. Another thing is that when we started this program in the early 1990s, we were the first, but a lot of other cities have sort of copied this effort. I think to date we're probably somewhere in the range of 135, maybe 140, something like that, Richfield rediscovered homes that are assaulted throughout the community, and it's just an enormously successful program. So it's just so great to see this taking back off again.
And what's amazing is that we could build 135 new homes in a city that's fully developed because there was a house on every lot. Okay, now we are open for the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this matter? you want to come up?
Thank you. My name is Earl Lukens, and I live next door to the property on 6616 Second, and we have the Rediscover home, and it's been 20 years we started. And I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather live because I grew up here anyway. A couple questions. When they do start this process, are they going to contact the neighbors to let them know when they are starting?
Okay, that's a good question, and I don't know the answer.
Yes, we typically send out a letter to the homeowners to let them know when a project is beginning.
Okay. What was my other one? I guess the survey, I haven't seen any survey markings, so I was just kind of curious as to when that was, if anybody knows.
The builder anticipates beginning in June. So
That'll be his first start of the process, is this, okay.
exactly, yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else?
Madam, I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now have before us item number 5. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of 6616 Second Avenue to Brendel Anderson Homes and authorize execution of a contract for private development with Brendel Anderson Homes for the development of a single-family home under the Richfield Rediscovered program.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
One comment, one of the things that's exciting about this is that we're also looking at this green program, which is an energy efficient program for homeowners. And when we look at homeowners, people who really want to get into homes, first of all, Richfield is greatly positioned because we have transportation. So if you're looking at how you're going to save money because transportation costs so much, and now to have the energy efficiency on top of that, that saves lots of dollars for these homes. That's a really great thing for some of these new families, besides the fact that we just want to lower our carbon footprint and be less dependent on foreign oil. And it's a great thing for these homes. We're in the Green Step program. This is a way to move.
Okay. Any further discussion? Did we put the picture of this one up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
All right, there it is. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, Mr. Devich.
Thank you, Chair Sandall, members of the HRA. This is the third of these projects. This one is at 6609 Humboldt Avenue, and the builder is going to be Metro Classic Homes Incorporated. And Mr. Stark is putting up a picture of that drawing, a drawing of that home.
Thank you, Chair Sandal. Commissioners, the HRA purchased 6609 Humboldt and demolished the house in 2010. Metro Classic Homes has submitted an application to purchase the lot and construct a new home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. Metro Classic Homes has also entered into a purchase agreement with an end buyer who will reside in the property when it is complete. The proposed new house meets and exceeds many of the Richfield Rediscovered program requirements. The new two-story home will have 3,270 square feet, 7 bedrooms, a study, 5 baths, and an attached 2-stall garage. The home will have an estimated end value of $325,000. Construction is expected to begin as soon as possible, as soon as the building permits are approved, and is anticipated to be completed in 90 to 100 days after the permit is granted. The HRA acquired the property for $94,000, and the appraised value of the vacant lot is $52,000.
Okay. This is also a public hearing. If anyone wishes to address the HRA on this matter, you can come forward. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then I'm looking for a motion on this one as well.
I move to conduct and close the public, approve the resolution authorizing the sale of 6609 Humboldt Avenue to Metro Classics Home and authorize execution of a contract for private development with Metro Classics Homes for the development of a single-family home under the Richfield Rediscovered program.
And I'll second it.
Madam?
Okay. Yes, go
Chair,
ahead.
I do have one point on this now, and I suspect that staff have looked at this. I saw a 7-bedroom home. I'm going, okay, that looks like a bigger house than we're usually seeing, but I suspect that the lot is also appropriately spaced, or where it's situated is also going to be very appropriate.
Yes, it will meet all of the setback requirements and lot coverage requirements.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I was sort of amazed to see a house like this being built in Richfield. And it's clear it's on the statement of the background here that this is being, there's a purchase agreement out with an end buyer who will reside upon the home upon completion of the construction. And I'm wondering if we really know who this is who's buying it. 7 bedrooms somehow says to me, you know, very nice group home, senior living, congregate kind of thing. Do we indeed know that this is going to be a single family living in this home?
Yes, the Richfield Rediscovered guidelines require that it be sold to a household that is going to reside in the home and homestead the property, and therefore it couldn't be a group home or a situation like that, as they couldn't homestead.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If none, I will entertain a motion to approve this item.
We already had a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was just discussion.
Yep.
Then I will call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, next item, Mr. Devich.
Thank you, Chair Sandel, members of the HRA. This is the fourth of these projects, and this one is going to be at 7408 Sheridan Avenue, and the contractor is Donné Homes Incorporated. And again, I'll ask Karen to make the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Sandel, Commissioners. The HRA purchased 7408 Sheridan Avenue and demolished the house in 2009. Donné Homes has submitted an application to purchase the lot and construct a new home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. Donné Homes has also entered into a purchase agreement with an end buyer who will reside in the property upon completion. The proposed new house meets and exceeds the Richfield Rediscovered program requirements. The new 2-story home will have 2,069 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and an attached 2-stall garage. The home will have an estimated end value of $275,000. Construction is expected to begin once building permits are approved and issued, and will be complete sometime in September. The HRA acquired the property for $94,000, and the appraised value of the vacant lot is $56,500.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the HRA on this matter? Do you want to come up? And if you would state your name and sign in when you're done, that would be appreciated. And your address, I'm sorry, as well.
Hi, my name is Greg Wizundis. I live at 7220 Garfield Avenue South here in Richfield. I've only lived here about 11, 12 years here. And I came from the St. Paul, West Side, St. Paul. My question is that the Richfield Rediscover program now, that these big companies are buying the lots and the houses and that. Now, are they available for the homeowners too here in Richfield too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then do they got to meet a certain criteria, like for these big companies to come in and buy these houses? And I know they're making profit out of it, but if we were to buy it, like if I was to buy it, let's just say, do I have to meet a certain criteria, something different than what the big company has?
Karen, would you like to answer his question?
Happy to. The Richfield Rediscovered guidelines would apply to the builder or a private individual. Typically, the guidelines require that there is a builder-buyer team that purchases the property and enters into the agreement. So the requirements are for everyone across the board the same.
Okay. And then the houses that are, after they put the houses up and they sell them and that, now and for the price that you're mentioning up, that they go from this amount to this amount, are they within the amount as far as within the Richfield housing or in that area at that time?
Typically, the homes are valued based on a lot of things: the lot, the location, the size of the home. And it's not until it's fully constructed that they will have an actual appraisal. But they are generally slightly more than what the average Richfield home is currently selling for.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to
Madam
speak?
Chair.
Yes, Mr.
I just loved his question because it's the perfect lead-in to say that we have, I think, still got 9 more, something like that, lots. And if you would like to do one of these and you want to find a builder, come to the city because we have a list. And we really like it when residents come and choose to do it and combine that with a builder. And we're looking to build houses that are bigger and afford more space for more families and have newer amenities. And it's really for the citizens of the community or the ones who, or people who want to become citizens of the community. Every company that does this has to have an individual homeowner already lined up to live in the house. So you can start either from yourself, finding a builder and being interested in doing it, or the builder can come with someone who wants to live in Richfield, and the two can apply for it.
Thank you. I find that amazing though too, because I have 3 boys, and 2 of them are going through foreclosures, and just because of the way the economy is, and but one of them had said that they'd love to come down and live in Richfield because one of them did live with me for a while, and at certain circumstances. But and I've been looking at the markets as far as the houses go and stuff like that, whatever. So that's one of the things that interests me as far as to do those things and whatever. And I'm finding out more and more different ideas that I have in my head and whatever. So now it goes even broader now, so it kind of confuses you, So
Good choices, lots of choices.
We also have a number of other programs, including people who want to buy and rehab foreclosure homes. So you might want to check with Karen
Or
after.
large additions as well. We help
Yeah,
sponsor
so-
large additions to homes.
So, okay. Anyone else who wishes to speak? If not,
Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
we have a motion to
Second.
close and a second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And then finally, we have the motion, and I'll be happy to do this one. Approve a resolution authorizing the sale of 7408 Sheridan Avenue to Danae Homes, Inc., and authorize execution of a contract for private development with Danae Homes, Inc. for the development of a single-family home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah. All right, next item on the agenda is number 8. Mr. Davich.
Thank you, Chair Sandal, members of the HRA. Excuse me. This is a consideration of a motion directing staff to schedule a public hearing to consider the sale of 211 76th Street West, former Gleason Mortuary site, to the Ron Clark Construction and Design Company, doing business as Connolly Development. I'm going to ask John Stark to make this presentation to the HRA.
Thank you, Chair Sandal and Commissioners. As the City Manager mentioned, this is the consideration of a motion directing staff to schedule a public hearing to consider the sale of 211 76th Street West, which was the former Gleason's Mortuary site, to Ron Clark Construction and Design, doing business as Connolly Development. Just by way of background, Ron Clark Design and Construction submitted an application for a rezoning and a planned unit development, preliminary plat, and other land use approvals for their proposed development, which is a 70-unit complex that includes 52 apartments and 18 townhome units on the 7600 block between Pleasant and Pillsbury Avenues. This replaced a previous proposal that was withdrawn by the developer on April 3rd. As part of the new application, Ron Clark would need to acquire additional city property that was not included in an option agreement that was approved with the city last year, as well as acquiring the former Gleason mortuary parcel from the HRA. The portion of the proposed development that would be located on the HRA property includes 8 townhome units. This equates to a density of about 11 dwelling units per acre, although the overall development for the entire block is approximately 24 dwelling units per acre. File notes from the year 2000, and I'm noting this because people have been asking staff, what was the intention when the HRA acquired this lot in 2000 or 2001? And so going back to the files, file notes did indicate that staff was looking at 12 to 16 dwelling units per acre on this site. There was no mention of what kind of housing this would be, whether it was rental or ownership, senior or general occupancy, affordable or market rate. The files didn't go into that level of detail. Ron Clark is proposing the purchase of the HRA-owned former mortuary property, and the terms of this purchase are laid out in the purchase agreement, and there's a draft attached to the packet for your review. The sale of the HRA-owned property is subject to the HRA conducting a public hearing and voting on the matter. The public hearing for the HRA to consider the purchase agreement would tentatively be scheduled for the June 18th HRA meeting. Directing staff to schedule this public hearing would not commit the HRA in any way to actually selling the property. It would just allow the conversation to occur and the public input to happen. Ultimately, the HRA must first consider the matter with the community input at this public hearing if it were ultimately going to sell the property to Ron Clark. With that, let's see here. Oh, the offer price on the property is $183,912, and the way that this price was arrived at was through an appraisal for the property on June 8th, 2011. That estimated the property value at approximately $185,500. So, I think that the intention is that their offer would match our appraisal. So if it's off by a little bit here or there, my guess is that they would acquiesce to changing the numbers a small amount. This appraisal assumed medium to high density of 12 to 24 dwelling units per acre on the site as the highest and best use of the land. And again, such a density on this site would equate to 9 to 17 units, which is a little bit bigger than the 8 units being proposed. An independent appraisal was done in March of this year after there were questions about the previous appraisal. And that review appraisal, which was done by a completely independent firm, did confirm the conclusion of the 2011 appraisal. The property was purchased for quite a bit more. It was purchased for $630,000 plus relocation and legal fees. That value was based on an appraisal listing the highest and best use of the land at that time as a mortuary with a number of apartment units overhead. And in an appraisal, one of the most important pieces of information is, of course, how the appraiser deems the highest and best use of the land. A lot of that's based on either how it's currently being used or how the comprehensive plan would indicate. So that's just a little bit of background on the valuation of the site. So with that, I would take any questions you might have.
Okay. Mr. Clark has asked to do a brief presentation, and I'm open to hearing, since we have a large book now in front of us. Maybe you can tell us about what's in there.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Again, my name is Jim Suseg. I am here representing Ron Clark, who's seated directly to my left, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. You're absolutely right, Madam Chair, that we are here tonight to talk about the anticipated public hearing for the HRA sale, but I think that's hard to do in a vacuum. So what I want to do is spend just a few minutes telling the HRA where we were from the last time we were here before you and where we are now, because I think that's what's on everyone's mind. So let me move through some slides. Is it? First of all, you've seen the folks that make up the Ron Clark team, and it's Mr. Clark, who again is seated to my left, Mike Roebuck, who is right there in the second row, Mike Waldo, who's not here present tonight, Kendra Lindahl, who I think you've met before, Gary Tushy, who's also seated in the second row, Dan Pellinen, Barb Halverson, and then again myself as Land Use Counsel. Just as an overview, and I'm going to get to the site plan here in a second. My understanding, the purpose of this evening is to determine whether a public hearing should be held. And I'm mindful of Commissioner Quam's prior statement at our last meeting that he wants to see more to the plan. And I think we've done that in the plan that we've submitted here tonight. We've listened to this commission, we've listened to the Planning Commission, we've listened to the City Council, we've listened to the neighbors, we've taken that input along with several meetings with your city staff and have put that together in the new plan and the new application you have before you. And we think in all respects, it's a better proposal. It's a better proposal from a land use perspective. It's a better proposal from a financial perspective. It's a better proposal from a TIF perspective, as I'm going to go through this evening. But as we've heard a little bit about tonight with the consultant speaking at 6 p.m., this is development of a much-needed project in the city. It fills a gap specifically identified by the city and its consultant. It's a balanced site, which I think was one of the things that the staff was worried about with respect to the prior application, which has been remedied in this application. And it's a 52-unit apartment building and 18 townhomes. I think we're all familiar with the site itself, which is bordered by 77th Street and 76th Street, with the railroad tracks immediately to the west, and then Pillsbury Avenue immediately to the east. In terms of the location, I want to make this clear with respect to the site. There was discussions in the prior applications if any of the existing single-family homes that front, or single-family lots, I should say, that front Pillsbury Avenue would be part of the application you have before you tonight or is going to be discussed. And the answer is those 3 lots that are not shown in yellow, but are outlined in yellow on the overhead right now, are not part of the land use application. And I want to make that perfectly clear. And also make perfectly clear that there's no phase 1 and phase 2. This is it. What you have before you is the proposal, and those 3 lots are not included. Let's talk about the site plan. So you have a rendering. This is a rendering of the plan. What you saw before, and I think this is very significant, is you saw that L-shaped property that would have fronted the single family or the apartment along Pillsbury Avenue as well as along 77th Street. And this rendering and this site plan show the major difference between what was here before and what you have now. So you have the one 52-unit apartment building. You now have 4 townhome buildings that are spread not only on the HRA site that we're here to talk about tonight, but also the existing city property to the south. And those comprise the 18 units, and the apartment building comprises the 52 units, as opposed to 70 units of apartment housing. So it's 52 in the apartment, 18 in the townhome, which again, we feel is a significant change. It's one that's born out of listening to what folks are saying and something that we're very proud to bring to this. I think it's something that people were talking about in terms of more townhome units. In fact, it was something that came up earlier when the consultant was addressing you. This plan is compatible with the underlying zoning. It provides 70 new high-quality housing units at below-market rental prices. And let me stop there for a minute and just address this issue head-on. And again, I'm not going to go through every one of those issues that I promised to go through at the last meeting. Those are going to be, I anticipate, for the further public hearings. But there's been much discussed about Section 8 housing, Section 42 housing, and how those differ. And let me just stop and stay for a minute. Section 8 housing is when the federal government hands somebody a voucher based on their income in order to pay rent. And it's up to 30% of their income, and if they can fill in the gap, they can fill in the gap. This is not Section 8 housing. This is Section 42 housing. How do those differ? Well, they differ marketably. The difference between those is Section 42 housing is a housing that's developed and constructed, and then there's income levels, and the rents are set at more affordable levels. The government, however, whether it's the federal government, the local government, is not handing the renters at this complex a check to pay the rent. It's not happening. And I want to make clear that. What is happening is the city of Richfield is getting a high-quality, high-end construction with the amenities that people want to seek in rental units, all the same ones identified by the consultant, for a lower market rate than they otherwise would have had. Now, I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but that lower market rate, or the lower market rent, for the 1 and 2 bedroom units that comprise this development will actually be more than the city average. Again, not with somebody walking in and saying, here's my check from the government, but having to pay that rent, the 1 and 2 bedroom units will be more than the Richfield average. The 3 bedroom unit will be right at the Richfield average. And I think that's important to understand, because what we're talking about in terms of affordable housing is not affordable housing in the sense that people thought about it 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's affordable housing in terms of what the tax credits that are being given to build something that otherwise would not get built in a nicer way, to allow for the rents to be more affordable and to allow those folks to live there. And again, those folks are people that are going to have to earn a certain, or the income level is going to be commensurate with City of Richfield averages. And so I want to make clear about that point, so I wanted to stop and talk about that. It's going to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. You have immediately to the west those rental properties. Of course, you have the railroad tracks. You have the retail and commercial immediately on the other side of 77th Street. And what we've done in the site plan is to try to make it as compatible as we can with the existing single-family homes, to make it compatible with the community, and to bring a new urbanism type character to this development. I'm just going to show there's going to be a sidewalk running through this. There's going to be connections to 77th Street, and then there's going to be a sidewalk along Pillsbury Avenue. So there's going to be connectivity, is my point, to existing systems within the city. So the plan that we're going to have before that public hearing, the one you've seen a little bit about tonight, is going to take property that's contaminated, unused, and blighted. And we are proposing to purchase the city-owned pieces and the HRA piece to purchase at market value, as Mr. Stark mentioned. Sound landscape design, crime prevention, sustainable building design, and again, uses professional management and operation by Stephen Scott Management. And again, that's vitally important. There's been concerns raised about, are the folks that are going to live here going to increase the crime in the area? One of the things you're getting with a tax credit situation is that we have to do a background check of these folks, a criminal background check, a rental background check. Do they have the income to meet that? If you have a privately owned rental property, they either do those or don't do those. We've heard a lot about the single-family homes that are being rented. If they don't have a permit to rent, We don't know what their systems are to determine that. Here, you know in advance what our systems are because they're mandated through the financing. Just for a minute on the amenities. Right back to the consultant, Mr. Dema, that spoke in his report. So we have high-quality common areas. We have the in-unit finishes that we've talked about, heated underground parking, fitness center, community center, walk-in closets, in-unit washers and dryers, and all the buildings are non-smoking. If you remember his slide from his presentation, he spoke exactly about the amenities that people are looking for. Save and accept a pool, this hits every single one of those. Just a short bit of history. 3 years of feedback from the city staff beginning in 2009, the HRA, the City Planning Commission, and the City Council. Modifications from a significant amount of neighborhood input. And then the June 2011 City Council resolution that provided for the option agreement, the consideration of the TIF districts, and the 70 units of 100% affordable. Again, how did we get here tonight? We proposed a 70-unit building that would have been only on the south end, only on the part that we have the option on. And I think that would have required higher density zoning, more than the 24 units per acre. So we circled back. Early April 2012, we considered a plan which would have that same number of units, but would not spread them out as much on the property. When we talked to staff about that, they thought, you know what? We want the space, we want there to be a better use of the space. If we're going to sell the property as their HRA, if we're going to sell the property as the city, we want better use of the space. So that's what we've done here. Is we've taken that space, there's still open space, but we're spreading the density over the larger land area. So let's talk about the current application. As I mentioned, it excludes the 2 single-family homes. It excludes the HRA-owned lot. It provides for the permissible density of 24 units an acre, includes the 1 apartment building and 18 units of townhomes. And we've done, I know there's a criticism of this before, that we didn't have a purchase agreement in hand. You have the purchase agreement in hand. It's been signed by Ron Clark. We've even given an earnest money deposit. So the buildings are now spread out, the 4 townhome buildings and the 1 apartment building. Still uses those buildings to screen the view of the parking lot from the off-site single-family homes over to the east on Pillsbury Avenue. And again, it includes the formal offers to purchase that I mentioned. As I also mentioned, it substantially reduces the size and mass of that apartment building. And it replaces the L leg along Pillsbury Avenue with the townhomes. And you can see that in the next slide. That's what I was mentioning. So you can see the prior applications and what's now it's been replaced with. In the PUD zoning, we believe we've satisfied all the criteria, and those have been discussed before for PUD applications. A couple other things. When this is platted, it will be 1 lot on the new plat, and this will clean up the existing legal description. What I mean by that is, what you have right now is this set of different legals, and that will be cleaned up in connection with the overall construction of the property, overall development of the property. Just a couple minutes on the TIF financing, because again, that's been something that's on people's minds. So under the old proposal, we were going to purchase only parcel C3, and I've got a map that shows that, for $415,000. We'd requested $530,000 in TIF financing, which required developer equity of $437,000. Under the new proposal, we're now proposing to purchase C1, C2, and C3, and then H1, which is what we're talking about tonight. We've added in the additional cost of the 18 townhomes, as opposed to apartment units. The request for the 530 in TIF is the same. And the required developer equity has gone from the amount of 437 to 1.1 million. And so what lots are we talking about? C3, you can see on the map, is the south end. C2, those are the 2 city-owned lots. There's that little notch along 76th Street by the railroad tracks, which is C1. And then, of course, what's been termed the mortuary site, which is here before you tonight, which is H1. So these 4 parcels make up the property. So you've seen the numbers. Let's talk about what's the city getting in terms of the TIF financing. Before, we were talking about demolishing and cleaning up the city maintenance garage, which is on the south end of the property. Now, we're talking about much more than that. Talking about demolishing and cleaning up that same maintenance garage, demolishing the mortuary building, cleaning up any hazardous materials that are on the site. And of course, the developer, up to the amount that's been set, we're assuming the risk of any unknown cleanup costs. We're also taking the risk relative to the TIF amount, and if it turns out that more is needed, that's going to be on our shoulders and not the city's shoulders. So in terms of a financing package, and in terms of what's going to be done on the ground, this is a much better proposal than what was submitted previously. The city housing assessment. Commissioner Sandal, you mentioned when Mr. Demo was speaking about the gap analysis in that report. 2 and 3 bedroom units, units with modern amenities and features, affordable units appropriate for families in senior housing. And even if, as I heard Mr. Demo say this evening, even if you include the single family units where there may be 3 or more units that are being rented out, there still is a deficiency in the city. And as I heard him say, it's hard to track those because they can go on and off the market. These will remain as rental units. So in terms of the needs analysis, this proposed project hits every single one of those analysis points. In conclusion, how does Richfield benefit? That's a question that's already also been asked. What's the benefit to Richfield of all this? Well, I think I've covered that, but just to be clear, it provides needed workforce housing in the community, not the Section 8 that seems to get everyone's thoughts up, but a needed affordable housing, provides the 2 and 3 bedroom new apartments and townhomes with those amenities, as I mentioned, that renters need, puts the underutilized property back on the tax rolls. The city HRA is able to sell the vacant land at market value, cleans up the contaminated property with the risk of anything above that on the developer and not the city and not the HRA. Obviously, the construction itself will provide jobs. There's $65,000 in building permit fees that would be paid to the city in connection with the construction. And again, it provides a high-quality development on a financially difficult property. Thank you for your attention tonight. I appreciate it. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
Thank you. Does anyone want to ask any questions up here? Okay.
I guess the last thing I would say is we are requesting a favorable motion for a public hearing to be held at a later date. I think it was identified as June 18th. And at that time, we'll make a larger presentation on some of the other things that I mentioned before that I think are on people's minds relative to this project. Thank you.
Okay. In order to discuss this, let's get it on the table. I'm going to move that we approve the consideration of a motion directing staff to schedule a public hearing to consider sale of 211 76th Street West, the former Gleason Mortuary, to Ron Clark Construction and Design, doing business as Connolly Development. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. This is, the motion is on the table so that the discussion is up for the HRA. If the motion passes this evening, it will be put on a public hearing in June, and then there will be discussion, you know, for as much time as people want to talk about it. That's the point. If we don't pass it this evening, then there is no public hearing. So, okay. Was there questions?
Madam Chair, I just would support having a public hearing so the people could be heard.
Okay, I think so too. Any other discussion to talk about up here?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm going to support the motion, but I want to make the caveat clear that all this is a vote to have a public hearing so that people will have an opportunity to talk about this. It doesn't mean that in my mind, for me, it doesn't mean that I'm approving anything that's been shown to us tonight. It doesn't mean that I feel it addresses maybe a more major issue, which is policy issues of how, whether we determine to start using 100% affordable housing in this community as a change in policy from all of our history. It doesn't address any of that. All my vote will represent is the desire to allow this to come before the public for a public hearing so that all of discussion can take place there.
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Quam.
Okay. So that the public understands that a motion tonight is really just to put the matter on for a public hearing to be heard in June, and you have the date in front of you. It is, I believe, June, someone help me find it.
15th, is that it?
15th.
June 15th, and that's the HRA meeting.
18th.
Thank you. So that would be the third Monday in June, which would be the normal HRA meeting. And there will be time for public comment then. I'm sure we'll have additional questions from this group and from the public as well, which people will want to address to the developer. Anything else anyone wants to say? At that public meeting, normally that's what the general rule is, yes. That, well, he doesn't get multiples of 3 minutes, but you will get, everyone who wants to come will get their 3 minutes, yeah. So.
I'd like
Okay.
to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I was a bit disturbed shortly after our last HRA meeting to get a call. I didn't receive it. I got it on my answering machine from Mr. Clark asking for to have a discussion with me. And I didn't respond to his call. I feel it's inappropriate, would have been inappropriate for me to meet with Mr. Clark privately, and that anything that he would have to say regarding this project is something that should be said in the public forum. I don't discuss these issues with members of the HRA outside of meetings, and I'm certainly not going to meet with Mr. Clark separately about it, and I just wanted to bring that to the public record.
And this was a matter that was also discussed at the most recent, I'm sorry? Because I asked him to come and tell us what the new proposal, I haven't addressed him yet, I'm sorry. What I would like is to have staff and council provide us with information about, because it is an issue in terms of the right of the HRA or the city council members or the planning commission to discuss matters with developers. And that was a discussion we had with Corrine here at the last city council meeting. And perhaps you can shed some light on that for us so that we all know what's appropriate and what we can do and what we can't do.
I'm sorry, Chair Sandel, are you asking that, that we talk about that right now?
I'm asking for our city attorney present to speak to this issue.
Julie Eddington with Kennedy and Graven.
Thank you.
I was not present when Corrine spoke about the issue as the city attorney, but as the HRA attorney, you can't meet together in a quorum of an HRA outside a public meeting. But if you, as an individual member, speak to a developer, there are no rules against that.
Okay, that's what I just...
No, I just feel that personally,
What about meeting successively? If he meets with each one of us, isn't that a breach of the...
That may cause an issue with the open meeting law.
With the open meeting law. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You didn't just call one member of the council, you called many.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so...
No, he never called me.
That would be a problem. And of course,
Chair Sandel, can I just suggest that it's going to be difficult to conduct a meeting if we're responding to questions from the audience that the people who are watching the meeting at home can't hear. I think either you take the questions as testimony or you don't take them at all.
That's appropriate. Thank you. I just wanted to address the issue because we had discussed it at the city council meeting as well. And I'm sorry, you wanted to speak to this issue? Is that?
Yeah, very, very briefly. And Mr. Clark has contacted people. He's contacted people on this commission, on the planning commission, on the city council. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, there's also nothing wrong, as Commissioner Rubenstein pointed out, with saying, Mr. Clark, I don't wish to speak with you. That's obviously everyone's right to either speak with him or not speak with him. That's all he's done here. I think the Richfield Sun had an article about this, and Councilmember Elliott had it right on. I spoke to him. People are free to do it or not do it. That's all we're doing, and that's, a petition to redress your elected officials. That's all that's going on here. But I wanted to make sure everyone heard that at this time. This wasn't where Mr. Clark was asking for secret meetings or anything else. He was just asking to sit down and petition elected officials, just like any citizen has the right to do. If someone stops you in the parking lot and talks to you afterwards or out in the hallway, it's the same thing. And I just want to make sure everyone in this room is very clear that that's all that's gone on here. And that's, if people don't want to talk to Mr. Clark, they don't have to talk to Mr. Clark. They want
to. This is not a public hearing. I've asked him to comment because it's been raised as an issue. The actual item before us is to deal with whether or not we want to have a public hearing where all of those questions can be raised if you'd like to talk about them. Is there any more discussion of the HRA to that topic? We have a motion in front of us. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So there will be a hearing where people may speak whatever they'd like to tell us. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is HRA discussion items, and I have a couple, and then we'll see if anyone else has anything they'd like to say. I did sit in on the realtors meeting, which was held last week. If you'd like to speak, you can take your conversation out in the hall, please. And I wanted to compliment staff on the meeting. I sat for some of the morning sessions and was very impressed. And I'd like to report that one of my brothers has a friend who was a realtor who was at that meeting, and he reported back to me that it was an unsolicited but very positive feedback from the realtor. They thought it was very helpful and useful, and very impressed with all of the information they got about the city of Richfield. The one thing I did notice is that we have to think about this as an HRA and whether or not we can accomplish it. One of the questions the realtors were asking is, well, how do we make any money at this? We're happy that you're selling your lots, but you're not using a realtor, so that we're not making any money selling your lots. We're not promoting Richfield unless there's some way we make money at it, selling it with a commission. And obviously the question is, I think it might be interesting to know what other communities do. Is there anything that other suburbs or cities have done in terms of selling public lots? Do they all sell them through the city? Do they use realtors? What's the process?
To my knowledge, they all do it through the city, but we will do some asking. I know St. Louis Park and Golden Valley have programs similar to ours, so we'll check with those two communities and any others that might have it. Some of the questions that pop up are how do you choose which realtor? That's one of the big questions, and so we've struggled. We've talked about it in-house, and we've struggled with the right answer. So any policy direction you can give us would be greatly appreciated.
Mr. Stark, some builders actually hire real estate agents to sell their homes when they build them on spec, so maybe that's one way to do it too. The realtor comes up with the person who wants to live in there. Well, it's not really spec if they get somebody who's going to buy it and then gets a realtor to deal with it, and then they get a cut from the builder. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, if you can do some checking for us, we'd like to get our houses built and our Richfield rediscovered fully.
Buy some more
completed.
Lots.
That's right.
I'm sure we got a few more we could pull out.
Okay. Any other HRA items that anybody wanted to discuss?
Chair, I have a couple questions on claims and payroll, but maybe I can just deal with them then.
When we get there.
Okay.
Okay. Executive Director report. Is there anything to report?
Madam Chair, members of the HRA, I really don't have anything specific to report this evening.
Okay. And claims and payroll, Mr. Quam.
I just noticed a payment to Sherman Associates for the City Garage South site of almost $1,650. And I wondered what kind of services we're receiving from them for that property.
Madam Mayor and Commissioner Quam, it's really kind of the other way around. They had paid us $2,000 as partial payment. When they had proposed to us doing some development in Richfield, part of the agreement was, sure, we'll put some work toward that. However, you've got to agree to pay our consultant and legal fees associated with it, and on the front end, we'd like a deposit. And so the amount that they deposited multiple times over a period of time, and the most recent deposit was $2,000. When we went back and audited our books, that project has gone away, for lack of a better term, and there was still a balance, so we returned their balance to them.
Okay. I just wanted to see if there was something further being explored with them or not. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So are we moving claims and payrolls?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And having no further business, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.